Hi.
Okay. Okay.
Am I ready?
Yeah.
Okay, good morning. It's always good to start with a laugh because that just gets us in the frame of mind that, we're supposed to be having fun here. And I'm Judy from Artistic Artifacts in Alexandria, Virginia, and I am having fun this morning with embossing powders. But first, we have a few announcements for you. Lots of stuff coming up. We have August 16th. We have What's New from Bernina. So we have 2 sessions. It's live. You come, you see demos of what we saw in Bernina University that was held in Utah. Wow, that's how fast those trips go away once you get landed and get your feet on the ground. So there's some new magnetic hoops. There's new 7 Series Pros. There's they've kind of redesigned the 3 Series. There's more, I know, because we went through it. Hoops, definitely hoops. There's a sock hoop, metal magnetic hoop. So we're going to have sessions where we'll have demos, talk about what's new, how it changes, what that is. Also tell you that the prices have settled down on Bernina, so we're good. Check with us, and we will let you know. We're very competitively priced, and as I said, things have settled down a little bit for us because Bernina is made in Thailand and Switzerland, and there's negotiation going on, but that's all I'm going to touch. We at least have some calm. We at Bernina University saw this pattern system. It's called Luderlo, and we are having a free session the 14th, Sunday, noon. One is at noon and one is at 2. This is a really fantastic system because it involves patterns and rulers and tape measures, which all sound like overwhelming tools, but it's really pretty cool. It's very fantastic. It takes 2 measurements and it customizes fits for you to sew clothes. Now, I don't know about you, but when I sewed through college, I've done flat pattern making. I know that this is really cool, fast, a great system. So I'm not making clothes anymore because I got lazy and I didn't want to, every time I took a pattern from Simplicity or Vogue or whatever, I'd have to remeasure it. I'd have to figure out what the ease was and all of that kind of stuff. So I just, of course, and really didn't want to admit that my measurements matched certain measurements on the pattern. And by gosh, no, I'm not going to use that size. So I stopped sewing. I don't know if any of this sounds familiar to you guys, but that was me. And that was my reasons, and I'm sticking with them. But the Luderlo program doesn't talk about sizes. It talks about measurements, and it customizes basic patterns that you can jump off for. Now, we love Fit for Art. Fit for Art has the same process, the same idea. They do it with patterns and measurements and have a sloper that they work off of, and we will have them back. They're waiting on me. And then, but this is another option for you. So doesn't cost any money. If you decide to buy the program, you buy the program. If you don't, you learned, you said not for me, that's okay too. So, but we highly recommend it to at least see what the options are. So
I think Leslie said it took her 10 minutes to do hers last night.
Yes. The example starts with a vest. Again, I was just mesmerized. When we saw the demonstration that happened at Bernina University, we were very, very impressed. Okay, what was the rest of my announcements, Chris? I forgot them already. We have a Bernina event. How could I forget this? Because we wrote it up yesterday. Coming up at the end of September, there's the 26th and the 27th. So these are one-day events. You can come on 26th. You can come on the 27th. You can come on both if you really want to. But the program is based on giving you an overview of the Q series, the Bernina Q series. Did you want to learn free motion? Do you want to know how to finish your quilts with rulers? There's a lot of people making quilted pieces that are for coats and for biani bags or any kind of bags. And they want to quilt and show some patterns. So we have from a sit-down Q series to a classic Q24 with a Q-matic. And you are going to experience some. We're going to have you sew sitting down on a Q series sit downs. That's where you're moving the fabric. Then we're going to show you what it's like to go to hoops and how it is to move the head, because there's a really big difference. And then there's automation if you want it. So that's a full day exploring Q-matics, Bernina Q-matics. So that is then. And then there's a hold the date in November for a $990, $790 program that we're going to have with Bernina also. Yes. So that's the Bernina information. We do have Seth Apter coming to launch his next fabric line. If you didn't know this, but we are the first in his outreach to his stores in the quilting industry, in the fabric industry. He comes to us first to launch his fabric lines. So we're really excited about that. We can't wait to see it. He has 2 classes on the program. They are up there. The descriptions, the samples are there. There are still spaces in those classes. What we find really interesting, it's kind of a sandbag type thing, is, you're going to have a lecture. Well, lectures are really awesome. And Seth is very personable and very interactive and talks a lot about his process and how he gets to that. But we have 2 people from Free Spirit who are his liaisons to the manufacturer that are going to come and talk too. So it's going to be a very interesting, full, commercial manufacturing experience, from the designing to the executing to the distribution of it. That information is on the website too. So all of these events are available to sign up on the website or RSVP on the website. Please do. It just gives us enough time to make sure we have enough chairs and that we want to get you set up. So I think that's it.
That's it.
Okay. I needed some prodding because I was focusing on getting the Bernina event up yesterday, that I forgot everything else that was going on. One of the things that we've been having the shop hop for the Mid-Atlantic states, so July and August, which we absolutely love. People coming and telling us about their shop hop experience, what they're seeing, what they're doing. It's just really gives us a great opportunity to talk and meet a lot of people. So it's been wonderful. And one of the things that happens when they come into Artistic Artifacts is, what do you do with paint? Why do you have paint in a quilt store? Why are there beads in a quilt store? And so we explained to them that Artistic Artifacts really was a reflection of my studio. I came from fiber art, so to speak. I've never been really trained as a quilter. So I came and broke a lot of rules and did a lot of things and made it up myself. So that's kind of how Artistic Artifacts evolved. It was the beginning of a mixture of things that I used in my art. I used a lot of paint, a lot of beads. I'm learning a little bit more about embossing powders, which I had fun getting ready for today. So we are really kind of, we're mixed media in that we reach the paper people and the ephemera people, and Seth is high on the list of mixed media, international mixed media artists, but we also work with fabric and have some really fabulously international fabric quilters come and teach here too. So I tend to be in that middle ground, and my favorite words are what if and what do you think? So those are things that I always want somebody to think about. So as we look, we have a new mixed media area in the store. I had one person come in and have a heart attack. She's like, "Where's your mixed media stuff?" I said, "It has its own room now. It's really grown. It's great." She's like, "Okay, good." Whew. I was really worried there. So you come back. It's in the back part of the store, and it's a very dedicated space. And I started looking around, and I go, okay, so we do paint a lot because I'm a paint girl. I love paint. I like paint better than stamp pads, but it's only because I use more paint. And then I always like texture. How can I add texture dimensionalized to my fiber? What can I do with my fiber art? So I thought, okay, well, we got a bonus here today. We have a lot of embossing powders on sale, a lot. Very nice quality Emerald Creek. And then we have, because as we change vendors on things, we have to sell you the old. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a change in a vendor. That's what's going on right now. So embossing powders are a powder. So you can see it's granular. Let me see if I can do this. Maybe, hang on. If anybody doesn't know. So I don't know what it's made up of, but it's granular, okay? Lots of little pieces. And when you put a heat tool on it, it becomes like an enameled thing. You know those old galvanized sinks and tubs and pots and things? It kind of gives you that feeling. Now, it will give you a different surface on paper than it does on fabric. But it does adhere to fabric. This is not washable, so don't ask that question. This is for things that are not going to be washed, which many, you know, I don't know about you, but art quilts do, you know, those little quiltlets that we do, all of those things are not washed. So here's some sample boards that were done. And we've carried the embossing powders that were designed and used by Seth and Gwen LaFleur. And so those gives you a sample of what they look on paper. So if we can use it on paper, we can use it on fabric, right? That's the unspoken assumption. So what do I do with fabric? So this is a wood block. You do use a glue, which is a Versamark or Wow are the two brands. And it is a glue and a stamp pad. So I took the wood block and we did our traditional wood block printing where we put the foam, the fabric. We turned the wood block over and we dabbed it with glue and stuck it here. Then what you do is you take some of the embossing powder and you sprinkle it over and it sticks to the glue, and then you take the rest and you shake it off on a piece of paper. And I'll show you that in a minute if I can figure out where. I think my wood block's still on the table. So you always make sure you have some extra and then you just pour it right back in. So what I found with fabric versus paper is that it absorbs. It's not as flashy. It's not as bright, so to speak. And versus a paper one. And of course, my paper, yeah, that's what I was looking for. All right, so this one was done with a stencil. So I literally, I need a piece of fabric. Oh, I know I was going to do this. Oh, this is kraft text. All right, so kraft text is closest fabric. So what I did with this one is I came here, and there is an embossing, I think that's still out there, that's pink, but it's all right. It doesn't. This is clear. All right, so I used a stencil. I stamped over it. So now I have glue on this. So I use my piece of paper, and I'm going to use so you get stuff off. All right. Now, don't use your heat tool until you put your embossing powder back in the container. It's a little dangerous when you do it that way. All right. Then I have a heat tool, and we have these for sale on the website as well. And I have a Teflon sheet underneath this just to absorb some of the heat. And you want to keep moving it or you're going to burn it. So what's going to happen is it's going to all of a sudden melt. See? Did you see it turn? It's really pretty cool. And that's because we're kind of remelting all of those little pieces. So with the idea that we make bits, so I make printed bits, beaded bits, felted bits that I kind of keep together. There we go. Might as well just do the whole thing. So this becomes a bit. So I can put it in my journal. It's craft text. I can sew it onto a quilt. I can cut it up. A lot of times I want you to think that about the fact that you're not going to use it as a whole piece, but maybe as a partial piece. So you can see, so this is and I did the same exact technique on this piece of fabric that I did on this. So I did this one. I took a stencil and I used soft gel instead of a glue pad. Now, I know that soft gel or a glue might bubble with the heat tool. So I was like, okay, well, maybe if it bubble, it'll still be cool. It's all right. But what happened was I had this, I did it. I put the soft gel on, I waited a couple seconds, pulled the stencil off, and then I put the embossing powders on it and went, oops, I left my heat tool at work. So I had to have Kyle bring it to me, and by then it's dried, so I didn't have any bubbling. So if you can wait, sometimes that reduces the bubbling. But this worked great. It's transparent, so it was really wonderful.
Would stencil butter work?
Okay, so yes, that was something. And I also thought about matte tints, because matte tints is a glue, but I couldn't quite figure that out. Chris asked me this before, and I did try it. And what did I try it on? It didn't really make a big deal. Okay. But it is a glue. I mean, it's like a molding paste. It could be done. So, like, if you don't have anything else and you have stencil butter, use it. It'll work. But it wasn't to an advantage, I guess I wanted to say.
So another question is, when you put the glue on your wood blocks, does that affect your wood block, and how do you get the glue off?
Yes, stencils, blocks, rubber stamps, you are using a glue. So you do want to wash them very soon. You don't want it to sit there and let the glue dry on it. I can't say that maybe I've done that or not, and I've not noticed it, but it is a glue, so you want to try and take care of that as quickly as you can.
Judy Donnelly asked if you used it on a bag, would it be durable enough for everyday wear? If you didn't want
would it be durable enough for everyday wear?
Carry a bag with
yeah. I think so. I would think that it's going to hold up pretty good.
Could you spray it with a protectant, like a
well,
sculptor?
I don't know if you want to do that because it might dull the embossing powder, but Yep, there's a good answer. Try it and let us know. I think it might be okay. And the other thing is, if you wanted to put it on there and maybe you want to use it as a pocket decoration or that type of thing, it could be something that you could take off and still have a washable purse. I can't tell you if I've ever washed my purses, but those of you that do, it'd be good. Here's my stencil butter example. So I took this stamp and I had another green leaf stamp. Here's this. Okay. So you can see there's still some stencil butter that dried in there. And I used actually a paintbrush this time, and I put the stencil butter on there and I stamped it. Then I used a clear embossing powder, or Seth has some that are not opaque. And I didn't really, maybe I picked the wrong embossing powder, but I still see more of the stencil butter. But what this tells us is, yes, you can stamp with stencil butter too. Stencil butter is a little bit creamier than a molding paste, so that's pretty cool stuff too. Then I thought, what else can I do? Well, we are in the midst of dyeing and creating a new set of inspiration packs, and we're dyeing stuff. And we don't have a lot of success with black. It comes out gray. And I don't really do a lot with black, so it's not one of my big colors, but this is a piece that has been dyed, and it's gray. I don't do a lot with gray, don't do a lot with black. So I was like, okay, what do I do with this? I've dyed it 3 times, and it still keeps coming back gray. So I took my white textile paint, and I took the piece, and I painted it. I thought, okay, let's knock this gray back, because I'm not liking it.
Janine says, watching embossing powder melt is what got me into stamping and mixed media.
I know, it's just so cool. It's like looking at your dyed stuff that comes out of a brown jar, right, Janine? It's just magic. So what I did was, and some of you guys may have gotten there, and I might be a little slow, but okay, I'm doing it my way. So I painted these little pieces, and here it is. Then I took it, and I put it upside down, and I mushed it, I put some glue on it, and I decided I wanted to use red. This great, really nice, it's called Paprika, and it's a Gwen stencil. This embossing powder, and it is on sale. This sale is a great opportunity. All right, so now I have a 3-dimensional embroidered type of piece of stuff, and we go there. I'm gonna put this back here, seal it, because I have it all over the place, and you know that. Okay, so
Make sure you put it back before you turn the heat gun on.
yes, absolutely. So embossing powders can be grainy, they can be metallically that look like gold. There's really texture within the embossing powder. And there we go. We have those. And I'm like, I like them much better that way. I think they're pretty cool. Now, I let this cool completely, and I did another layer of embossing on it. So I embossed it 2 to 3 layers to get this very thick, awesome color. These are another motif I did. The same idea. These were gray also. I swear to you that I did the same process on both of them, and they both look different. I'm not sure what I did, but I swear to you I did. So I must have used different embossing powder. I just have a big container of embossing powders, because over the years of business, I like this color, I'll grab this one and this and that. So maybe I just grabbed something different, but there is a saffron color and there is a gold color. So the Distress, Tim Holtz does embossing powder. That's different. Ranger does embossing powder. Distressed. Okay, Boho Blends. So Emerald Creek is a really great company that does embossing powder. And so those are fun, different ways to do it. And they do have different textures, different mixtures in the embossing powder. So something will give you, this is a really good example. This will give you a really big gloss, but something else might be a little more textury and a little more, Tim Holtz always says distressed. So the next question is, Can I sew over embossing? Yes, you can. So what I did, this was a hand stitch, a Thermofax print that Chris did. And if you can see this, what I did was I took an embossing pen and I went in here and I put glue on it. And if just to make sure I had enough glue on it, we're going to move it up here, Cindy. So I put a little glue on here because Teflon sheets, these are goddess sheets, Teflon sheets, these are magic. So to make sure I had enough, because your fabric is going to absorb your glue and your embossing powder more. So if I want those leaves to look like that, and I don't have a stamp like that, then I'm going to paint them on.
Helen says she uses distressed glazes, which have a more translucent finish.
Right, right. And Seth has some that are more translucent as well. I'm all about opaque. Okay. See, I did my first rule. So you can see how I made my leaves there. Okay. And of course I messed up my Teflon sheet. And so I've shaped those leaves by being very purposeful with my glue. Then I went in and I actually hand stitched with a back stitch here to accent the leaves. So I have paint, I have embossing powder, and I have hand stitched threads. This is probably size 8 with a chenille needle, and it worked like a dream. So I stitched through it. Then this is another sample that is a stencil with the soft gel. And so I stitched around here. I was trying to stitch. So I used the Bernina stitch regulator. I reduced the foot pressure to almost 30 because this is heightened. And I don't want to get stuck on that. So I used the smallest free motion foot I could find. But every once in a while I hit the embossing powder and I stitched right through it. So it's not anything that was a big deal at all. So you can stitch through it. It's not going to hurt your sewing machine. And I'm trying to think of what else I have.
There's a question about the quilt behind you today.
Ah, great. This is a customer of ours, Laurel, who did this quilt for us. She bought the pattern. It's called Hello Spring, and went right home and sewed it up and said, would you like to borrow my quilt to show off? And we're like, yes, absolutely. So she does her own long arming, which I think her pattern that she picked is really pretty cool. And she put this together with solids. Really awesome. And she didn't do straight line quilting, which I absolutely love, that she has these little circles that come in there. So that's the pattern. We have the pattern that's available for you. And we have all of these materials and things that are available for you. Sometimes you might have them already, and it could be a different way to use them. But I have one more, and I have to try this before we have to go. So we have these vintage pieces. These are millineries that are velvet. They're flock velvet. They're paper. And I thought, okay, they're white. So what can we do with them to customize them for our piece? We can paint them. We can ink them. We can take an ink stamp and stamp it. We can paint them. But I thought, well, why don't we try embossing this velvet here? So let's try that.
While you're doing that, there's a question. How wet are the embossing pads?
Not very.
They're just sticky, right?
They're sticky. So whenever you buy an ink pad and an embossing pad, always buy the re-inker. Now this is something that always really frustrated me with the big box people. So they would sell you the ink pad, but they'd never sell you the reinker. So we try very hard to make sure that we do that. So I recommend, whether it's a stamp pad or an ink pad or a mixed media glue embossing powder, always buy the reinker.
Sherry says, does the embossing work on printed fabric too versus plain?
Sure. I can't think of any reason why it wouldn't. Okay. So you can see, oops, didn't get that little end there. All right, let's remember to put it back in the container. This will be my last trick for the day. Let's see how it works. It would be nice if I put my glasses on so I could see. And the embossing tools, they get hot, so you got to watch your fingers. Like this is, you don't want to be too close that it's going to melt it, but you want to be, you don't want to burn it. I keep moving it, sorry. You just want to melt it. Did a little burning on that one. But, not so bad, huh? Looks better than the white, doesn't it? Totally. Pretty cool. All right. I think I might finish doing some of that and maybe paint the flowers with some ink pads. And I have a great thing and we have just a few of these left. Finding these old vintage millineries is becoming harder and harder, and I love to use them. So, are there any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. Thanks for joining us. I hope that you have a creative day. I hope I've inspired you to try something different, maybe with the tools you already have, or inspired you to come take advantage of our great sale and try a new item for what you have going. So thanks for joining us. Have a creative day.